We are expecting Emmanuel Macron to start speaking very shortly. There he is, and we're going to take a listen to him now.
Your Majesties, chiefs of church, heads of state, heads of governments, Madam Secretary General, dear Louise, dear ministers, heads of delegation, members of parliament, ambassadors, prefects, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, I have been tasked to invite you here, to welcome you to this event, and this is a great honor for me. And as you've understood this, no one would have anticipated that there would be so much sunshine here at Villers-Cotterêts. Ladies and gentlemen, you are at home here, in a place that is much greater than us, where someone much greater than us reigns, a great lady who's aged who's over 1,000 years old, our language. Welcome here. Welcome to all speakers of French who have joined us here from all 5 continents. The Chateau of Villers-Cotterêts, as you've just heard, is where in August 1539 a royal decree marked the first official step of the expansion of our language. And it is here that Francis I of France started building the unity of France through its language. It's an instrument of unification, of hope for our country. And if you'd come here just 5 years ago, you would have only seen a chateau that was already turning to ruin. You'd see closed, barricaded doors, empty rooms. But today it has become an open space, a living space, a place for exhibiting and teaching our language. And I'd like to congratulate all those who worked for many years in order to rebuild, restore, and also to think about the nature of the space and reinvent it. Because as you've seen, it's not just a museum, but it is a true city, a place of welcome, of research and exploration. We are all citizens of this place because we are all citizens of the French language. Yes, we share many things. More than just phonetics or grammatics or orthography, more than just points of grammar, subjunctives and conditionals, more than past participles and different complex rules of the French language. We share a Rabelaisian heritage that is continuously evolving, bringing together a culture creation with this little bit of humor and that has gone through the ages. And our language, from Acadia in Quebec, from the Louisiana, from Haiti, from the heart of the African continent, from Morocco, Tunisia, to the Congo River Basin, from Madagascar to the Isle of Réunion, from Vietnam to Cambodia, from Oceania, from French Polynesia to Vanuatu. The sun never sets on this language. There are over 300 million men and women who speak on 5 continents the French language, more than 300 million people, or 500 million people, who are continuously trying to improve it and enrich it. And you've seen written over there, words in French written from the whole of France, from all over the world. Lots of words coming from other continents. And these are the words, the Francophonie that unites us. And it was invented, it was seen by other places than France itself. It was first wanted by our writers, then by our journalists, by our radio presenters or radio workers. Then it was promoted and institutionalized in 1970 in Niamey by the President of Senegal, Senghor, Bourguiba, Ouigny, and the Prince Sihanouk of Cambodia. And today it is made up of 88 states, and I'd like to congratulate those who will join us tomorrow, Madam Secretary General. From the very beginning, it was a decentralized organization which, at the end of decolonization, wanted to stand up for a language that we all share. That is why the French language has created the Francophonie and given itself its own tools, and creating its own structure and an environment that is its very own. Our language is a territory that has to be built. Now, of course, we have the Académie Française here in France, and I'd like to commend its representatives who are here with us. That is an institution. But there is also the Dictionary of the Francophones and of Francophonie, which we didn't build as something to compete with the Academy, but it is also something that inspires us. Our language is also something that helps us inform ourselves and understand the world. And since yesterday, we've been so happy to be able to see another fresh face on our family photo, because Madame Guiménez is now the head of TV5 Monde. I'd also like to thank Canada, Switzerland, Belgium, Monaco, Canada, Quebec, and Wallonie-Bruxelles for their contributions to this formidable project of Information du Monde and to sharing our common understanding. We also want to make it easier for new partners come from the whole of African continent to also have the same will to support free journalism to join us. And that is something that we're working on with President Ouattara, and we've been working on it for several years. It is an important project of ours. Our language is also a space of creation. Francophonie is a treasure of our various literatures, of our authors that we share, whether this be under the foot of a cedar tree or at the peak of our mountains. Because through our language we create imaginary worlds which structure our Francophone reality. And sharing beyond borders is a duty for us. And so that is why I also commend the project of collecting the referential work of Francophonie. This is a project that will allow these works to be showcased in different languages, the collection Fenêtre. It will have Francophone books to start with, translated into into Arabic. They will be sold for $2, and they will allow everyone to be able to have access to the ideas, the imaginary, and the values that are carried by Francophone writers. I think this will be an important step forward in the same way as in 2018 we launched at the Académie Française, we launched a support program for our interpreters and translators. Our language is more than a tool, it is an entire universe. It is a space of opportunity to create, to be able to create a space for artistic creation. And I know, Madame Secretary General, that you have long supported the creative industries, and we will have many an opportunity during this day to talk about this. Guillaume Gallienne will be reading an amazing text to us, and the Comédie Française will also be here to share their work with us. And throughout this day, we have artists representing the Francophone world to showcase this creativity. But our language is also a language to do commerce in, to do business in, because it is very international. If you look at Africa or Oceania, for French is the language of passage. It is the language that allows you to move between all the regional languages, all the local languages. It makes it possible to unify the business world of an entire country or even an entire sub-region. And so it is a wonderful lever of opportunity. And I say this to all the young people today, all the people who are going into business. Don't think in English, think in French. Throughout the Indian Ocean, you can do business and you can reunify these regions, going from Madagascar to the Réunion, to Mayotte, to the Comoros. This is a language that unifies this regional space. The same thing in the Pacific, the same thing as in all of West Africa. So, it is true that the 330 million people that belong to Francophonie, it is And if it will grow in the following years, it's because French is such an attractive language because of its economic and business potential. Entrepreneur is a French word, even though our Anglophone friends might think otherwise. And that's why I'd like to commend all the entrepreneurs and innovators who joined us at this summit. And I'd like to also commend the extraordinary energy from Francophonie. I'd like to thank Monsieur Monsieur. I'd like to thank the teams of the summit, who I'd like to really thank the Secretary General on Business France, because you demonstrated that our capacity to innovate in all fields, from sustainable development technologies, all these things allowed the Francophone space to go forward and to create new opportunities. Bravo. Yes. Innovation is a French word, and so is invention. And that is why we work tirelessly these last months with our partners, including the World Intellectual Property Copyright Organization, in order to launch a French alliance, a French copyright alliance. Our language is also a language of transmission, and I'd like to pay homage here to teachers and professors who all over the world have been teaching French. Whether French is our mother tongue, or if we learnt it, it is something that is intimate for us. It is something that carries our thoughts, our hopes, our revolts, and our emotions. The words that we use condition the ideas that we think, that also influence the freedoms that we have at hand. And that is why we need to protect our teaching and maintain quality education to make sure that each and every Francophone person can create their own educational pathway. And we will continue supporting the educational systems of Francophone countries through the OIF, the International Organization of Francophonie, just as we have done through the reform of the AFE. These are shared goals throughout our organization. I'm thinking about the regional centers for education and training, which cooperates with our national organizations. I'm thinking about TV5 World Schools. I'm thinking about the University Senghor in the beautiful city of Alexandria. And let me also take a moment to speak to the representatives of Egypt who are working on the installation of the Senghor University in the new suburb of Benguahara, new campus there. But even here, in this international city of the French language, at Villers-Cotterêts, you will not just see a place of heritage that we've renovated. You will not just see a place of culture and permanent creation. I'd like to congratulate the teams and all the people who've been working here. You also have artist residence, places for training, and we will also create and launch at this summit the International Collège of Villers-Cotterêts. The international city of the French language will become a laboratory of excellence in order to train teachers of French, and in French, teachers of future entrepreneurs, translators, interpreters, and it will welcome various researchers, specialists, and so on and so forth. It will be a place of transmission that will allow to irrigate the fields that have already been planted by our governments in our capitals. All these projects to make our language more dynamic. And because teaching French and French translation is the engine of our language. And I'd like to thank Mr. Mahmoud for the importance he's given to translation, because it reflects all our richness and diversity. Because if there's one thing that really characterizes the French-speaking world, Francophonie, is our hospitality. We welcome people in our language. And this has always been reflected by multilingualism and translation. So it's important that the teaching of French everywhere in the world is also reflected by our capacity of being able to teach in all our regions other languages such as English, Mandarin, Chinese, Arabic, or Spanish, because this is a capacity to think language and the passage of language. A language is not something that is closed in on itself. Our language is open, and it opens up a space of communication and of sharing. Francophonie is everywhere, something that allows us to create a network of friendships, of diplomacies, of action, a different network of analyses. And it's always fascinating, for example, in Canada, to see the love of French that is carried by that country. And it's carried that way and expressed that way in Ottawa as well as in Montreal or Ottawa. Because it's defended in different ways, but it's still defended because it's a language of reinvention and invention, of combat, of expression. And that's why the Francophonie is a brotherhood, a non-exclusive brotherhood that only wishes to share its values. It is a utopia that has opened up its space to us all. It is this great wind, this bit of fresh air that allows us to mix, to creolize, to reinvent. And it is this wonderful space that allows writers such as François Scheng, who learnt our language after the age of 20, to become members of our academy. It allows a young Lebanese person to write in our language and to become, like Amin Malouf did, to become the perpetual secretary of our academy. That allows a young Russian person such as Andrei Makin to discover our language in Siberia and to devote his entire life to it. And also allowed a young Haitian writer to become one of the favorite writers of Canadians and to be adopted by the by the Académie Française as a I'm talking about M. Ferrier. It allowed Catan to write his first book about Lebanon, but is very Christian. We also have other writers who've mixed Albanian reality with the French languages.
Mais auquel rien de ce qui est humain n'est étranger. Signe s'il en fallait encore.
And there have been many signs through all this that French is a bridge between centuries, peoples, and individuals. The French language and the Francophonie is what allows us to do things, to create a universe that is shared and reinvented, a humanism that is decentralized, respectuous, based on the recognition of cultures and peoples, just like Souleymane Bachir Diagne described in his last book. This is also why I am convinced that the Francophonie is a space of diplomatic influence that allows us to confront the challenges of our century. It is together in French that we have to be able to meet the challenge of technological transformations. We, together in French, will have to confront the challenge of transformations and strengthen our preparation to this, and also build a digital order that will protect our citizens. It is together and in French that we will have to fight against disinformation, against the propagation of hatred online. We will have to fight against hate speech, racist words, anti-Semitic texts, and that is why, and Bruno Patino in a few minutes will tell you with the discussions that he's been working on, it is also why with the call of Villers-Cotterêts, we will be calling in very clear words on the digital actors to build a safer and more diverse space. There must be moderation in French in order to combat all the hate speech. And the International Organization of Francophonie is going to fight for this cause. It is also in French that we need to meet the challenge of artificial intelligence. We have to make sure that we can maintain open source innovation in French. And that is why next year we will have a summit on the innovation in artificial intelligence, where Francophonie will have a star role to enable us to have a dialogue on innovation in artificial intelligence. And at the G7 summit, Mr. Trudeau also will carry these innovations that we defend together. Francophonie is also a place where together we can also defend a diplomacy that defends sovereignty, territorial integrity everywhere on this planet, where we can speak in a single voice next to Ukraine, and stand next to Ukraine, who's been threatened in its integrity by its Russian neighbor. That there should be no double standards, where every life should be equal in all conflicts around the world. And we all believe in the freedom of countries to be able to govern themselves. There cannot be peace in the Middle East without a two-state solution. We also think about our Armenian brothers, respect their territorial integrity. We are also standing next to our Lebanese brethren who have also been attacked in their sovereignty. We defend the sovereignty of all the peoples and states of the Pacific, which must be a peaceful region, and where no power should be able to undermine this peace. We also defend these humanist values that call us to stand by all our brothers in the world, in the Francophone world, and everywhere else. And so we also ask for humanitarian spaces and the civil population be protected everywhere and at all times. It is clear Francophonie's program is an agenda for peace and sustainable development, as you saw when we voted on the 22nd September to adopt the Pact for the Future. And I'd like to commend the Democratic Republic of Congo, whose participation was decisive for us to be able to move forward. Francophonie is this solidarity of 330 million souls. A city that has the French language as a foundation and has the entire world as a horizon, and that desires something that is universal, that is made up of many different individualities. It is something wonderful, and that is why I am very happy to be able to welcome you in this city of Villers-Cotterêts, the city of the royal decree of Francis I, also the city of Alexandre Dumas, a city that is yours because of its international dimension. And I'd like to thank every one of you for being here with us today, and I'd like to thank you for your commitment. Long live the French language, and to the common work that the International Organization of Francophonie is doing. Long life to all of you and all of us. Thank you.
Merci à vous.